Hey everyone, welcome back. Okay, this thing slaps. It's a bit of an odd one. Luckily, the actual Incarnon tree is straightforward this time, so I haven't had as many struggles. There are 30 of these weapons total that we'll be covering over the next few months, so let's cut to the chase. This weapon passes 100% crit and status at the same time. This instantly makes it a top tier hybrid weapon, since it also has AoE, meaning it can get big crits and apply heavy status. Neutralizing Justice works both in normal and Incarnon form to pop nullifier bubbles if you want that. I picked the MITER and dual Toxicus Incarnons this week, though I would also recommend considering the turret. It appears to be completely busted, as well as having beneficial bugs currently. As always, these weapons are the second generation of Incarnons shipped with the Duviri Paradox update. The only way to get them is from Steel Path Circuit mode. After clearing the quest and having Steel Path unlocked, you need to pick 2 of the weapons on rotation to work towards on the Steel Path Circuit mode. Clearing rounds gives points to point tiers. Reach the appropriate point tier and return to this screen to claim your loot. The Incarnon Genesis adapters have a rotating 6-week schedule with the full details in this video's description. If you do not get the adapter for your weapon before weekly reset, it will not reappear for 6 weeks. If you get the adapter, you can use it on your appropriate weapon at Cavallero and the Chrysalith whenever you want. Keep in mind, attaching the adapter requires Duviri open world materials and has unlock requirements on the Incarnon tree perks just like the original Incarnon weapons from the Angels update as well. Normal MITER appreciates the extra crits and status from the Incarnon tree, since the original MITER was only really used for neutralizing justice to destroy nullifier bubbles. Now it can actually status and crit properly, however the shots bounce randomly on ricochet. Shoot heads to charge Incarnon meter, multi-shot counts as separate hits to build it faster. Alt fire to transform into Incarnon mode. This animation is affected by reload speed. The Incarnon mode gimmicks builds upon the strengths of the MITER. Shots do somewhat less damage, but now have massively higher crit damage, and status. The direct hit is pure IPS, whereas the AoE is pure heat, and unlike normal mode, the ricocheting shots now have homing on them. The MITER Incarnon turns into Cedo's Glaive, simply, but full auto. Every time the Glaive hits an enemy, they explode, just like Latron Incarnon, before continuing on to another ricochet target. That's all there is to it. Just like normal MITER, the direct hits of Incarnon mode have Multiplicative GunCO. This is important because additive GunCO ignores the extra innate damage of Incarnon perks. However, Multiplicative GunCO does not, since it multiplies all final damage. Not only does this buff direct hit DPS massively, but the direct hit is a base 70% slash and AoE being 100% heat, so the status chance from GunCO isn't wasted either. Do remember that GunCO will not increase the base damage or final damage of the Glaive bounce AoE. For the next ability testings, I'm nerfing my damage intentionally to test interactions. You will do more damage than this normally on a proper build. Zephyr? The Glaives do not consistently hit the tornadoes due to 3-meter blast radius if you shoot at them, however it can work. Shooting tornadoes directly makes them rebound into the crowd, as well as shooting off the floor. Shooting too many Incarnon shots creates excessive outward velocity and can yeet enemies away from the tornadoes, reducing DPS. Mag? The shots cannot hit the same enemy more than once and does not seem to be capable of triggering as many bounces as the Latron Incarnon could. This is a very usable Meg weapon, but not top tier. Use it if you enjoy it. A solid weapon that is fully viable on both frames, but there is nothing special to mention for Xata. The MITER Glaive does not last nearly as long as the Cedo, therefore it will not hit all the enemies grouped up like Cedo can to take advantage of Mesa's ballistic bullseye augment that works so well on the Cedo. It really doesn't need this though, since it has absurd damage scaling innately. Let's take a look at those Incarnon perks. Perk 1 is same as always, outside of Torrid from this week. You shoot heads to build Incarnon meter nullifier to activate it. You can even activate without full meter and it will grant percent ammo equivalent to how much of the bar is filled. Incarnon mode holds 20 shots and is unaffected by magazine or ammo max perks or mods. While the 20 shots deplete very quickly, MITER is extremely easy to build meter on due to imperfect accuracy on headshots, allowing some spread and multi-shot potentially giving you single shot full charging. Remember that you can keep shooting the head hitbox of an enemy immediately after they die before they fall and it will still count as headshots to build the Incarnon meter faster. Second perk is extremely simple. Both give innate damage bonuses which work properly in this weapon because GunCO is multiplicative on direct hits. All Incarnons that use additive GunCO ignore these innate damage buffs when calculating damage. The right side perk grants 20% more final damage. This damage buff only applies to the multi-shot pellets and not the original shot. You will also burn 1 extra ammo per multi-shot to buff them. I don't know if it applies another 20% per multi-shot consumed, but you will almost never use this perk. Why? Even if you have 4.0 multi-shot, it at most increases the damage of multi-shot pellets and not your original shot by 60%, if it even gives plus 20% per multi-shot. Except now you use 4 Incarnon ammo per shot. The Incarnon mode is where it's at on this weapon, and 4 ammo means you can only shoot it 5 times before it depletes. Absolutely horrible ammo economy, and you would do more damage by just shooting 4 times without the perk. Incarnon is full auto with a fairly high fire rate already. The only time you would use this perk is for Demolyst killing builds, when you are certain you can kill them in a single magazine. This literally saves you 1 second of shooting in the DPS rotation, exchanging higher DPS for lower total damage per magazine. Normally with Galvanized Chamber, you will burn 3 to 4 Incarnon ammo per shot. For Endurance, I wouldn't recommend using this. For Steel Pass Survival, you want your ammo spread across more shots to kill fodder, so I wouldn't use this either. Therefore, pick the other perk. Channeled ability is just like the Lex, it has to be actively draining energy, and only energy, at the moment of shots, so Hildren Haven doesn't count, or any of her abilities for that matter. Desecrate with Despoil draining health doesn't count, and even normal Desecrate only counts at the exact moment of looting bodies. Gloom only works with this when enemies are within radius draining energy, etc., but it's the best we got. For your third perk, you want to DPS Incarnon mode on MITER. While the normal mode is usable, it is kind of lackluster. Yes, charging your shots lets normal mode gain punch through instead of bouncing, but it still isn't worth it. Most of your kills come from shooting in Incarnon mode, so it is easy to get ammo back, making Mercenary Chamber unnecessary. You literally never reload the MITER, since a single or 2 headshots after Galvanized multi-shot is stacked is enough to max your Incarnon bar instantly. You also get all magazine refilled whenever you exit Incarnon mode. Therefore, we always pick plus 50% projectile speed, especially because the Incarnon mode ricochet glaives are much slower than normal, and you really want extra speed to ricochet more and faster. For our fourth perk, Sawblade Storm is useless. It gives the normal mode AoE, which is unaffected by GunCO and is base blast type damage. If you want to have AoE with good stats, just charge the Incarnon bar and transform it. MITER has absurdly high status already at 50% and 56 on the Incarnon mode. Therefore, it will always want more crit instead. This means every build today uses Commodore's Fortune, and you never have to swap perks, unless you're using that weird Plentiful Mayhem Demolyst killing strat, which is completely unnecessary. There are 4 different builds I'm showing today, each with a different purpose. At least one source of fire rate is recommended for the MITER, be it from modding directly or arcane acceleration from your Warframe. This is just a recommendation rather than mandatory like on the Lex Incarnon. We will be looking at trash fodder clearing builds, non-strip Demolyst killing builds, funny gas AoE memes, and heat inherit DPS, which can both be used to kill fodder and endurance or Demolysts. Build 1 is heat spamming AoE for killing trash fodder and base steel path. It's very easy to use, you just point and click. Because MITER's AoE DPS is pure heat, we are able to run max rank viral without diluting heat way too much. GunCO is still valuable even on today's AoE DPS because it boosts status from 123.2 to 168, or 36.4% more status procs. The main shot also has multiplicative GunCO, making it extremely easy to apply viral and then rip enemies apart to build your initial primary merciless stacks. This same build works well against Demolyst if you bring Armor Strip, because viral self-priming and viral damage will boost their damage against health, while the heat ticks will also burn them down so long as you keep shooting, as heat stacks refresh forever. This build reaches 126% crit today to take advantage of the massive 7.3 times multiplier. Terminal velocity is important to allow shots to bounce faster for crown killing, resulting in quicker AoE DPS application. If you want to slot Neutralizing Justice, I would recommend dropping GunCO since this build does not care about slash weight. Do be aware you are losing access to 36.4% more heat procs doing this. Merciless always, because dot kills cannot trigger Deadhead. The second build today is specifically for killing Demolyst without bringing in Armor Strip. This frees up your helmet for whatever survivability or utility you want. The direct hit of the Incarnon mode retains 70% slash weight just like the normal mode. We deranked the viral mods to maintain as high slash weight as possible. Primers are entirely optional for this, but using a primer allows you to kill them in 1 second. Remember that the direct hit and AoE will proc IPS, viral, and heat, and GunCO is multiplicative on direct hit for 320% more final damage. Primed Bane is extremely important to double dip our bleeds for 2.4 times more. If you do choose to bring a primer, preferably with secondary encumbered to produce a boatload of different status effects, you can run Amalgam Serration and Hammer Shot over the unranked viral mods for extra DPS scaling. Terminal Velocity is primarily here to help with trash fodder clearing and does not have much impact against Demolysts. Make sure to shoot for their heads. If you want to slot Neutralizing Justice, I would recommend skipping Viral fully and replacing both elemental mods with Neutralizing Justice and Hammer Shot. Pick either Merciless or Dexterity to maintain stacks for demo killing, since Deadhead will be inconsistent on the slash setup. Our third build is for Ensnare gas DPS. Just like the Latron, the MITER explodes every time it bounces, and this build is meant for Steel Path plus up to 1k. MITER instead has homing bounces and does not need to be shot underneath the enemies like Latron. I originally didn't cover gas Latron and Incarnon because it already armor stripped, making the benefit overlapping gas clouds pointless, as heat would instantly burn them to death when the armor came off in a single shot. MITER doesn't have this advantage. Therefore, we take advantage of the overlapping gas clouds from all the ricochets to apply massive damage. You have two options here: Thermite rounds in GunCO. This will make the direct hits have much less slash, but now the direct hit that bounces also inflicts gas, boosting multiplicatively with GunCO. If you want to run Neutralizing Justice on this build, I would drop Hammer Shot, but then you have to source fire rate from Arcane Acceleration on your Warframe. Merciless, because all your builds are from status effects, and gas is not a good raw damage element. The fourth build is for Heat Inherit AoE shenanigans. You could also kill Demolyst with this if you want at level 9k, but that would require armor strip. Against trash fodder, this should scale up pretty high, as I was getting several 100,000 heat ticks from a single shot on the crowd at base Steel Path. Shooting a few times should easily get burns into the millions. I don't know when fodder would start needing armor strip, but I imagine it would be well above level 1k. This lets the direct hit also apply heat since it's normally just base IPS, and the direct hit is what scales multiplicatively with GunCO, ripping Demolyst apart. Yes, this kills faster than the slash build, but it is more convoluted because you need a dedicated heat and inherit primer, which is why I wouldn't recommend this on MITER for base Steel Pad Demolyst killing, since we already have a build that works well enough for that. Because it is for endurance, you would also have to bring armor strip for Demolysts. How to use? Megas lock down the Demolyst. Use your armor strip tool of choice. Prime the Demolyst. Switch the MITER and spam shots at head until it burns to death. That's it. Merciless, because all our DPS is coming from burns. For trash fodder non-K, you just use a primer and then swap to MITER and shoot. Heat inherit primers are simple. The principle is that heat uses the elemental mod percent of whatever weapon inflicted the first stack. Therefore, our primer should have as high heat percent as possible. Our actual DPS weapon, MITER, only has to have some kind of heat to stack it further, but does not need to spend a bunch of mod slots on stacking heat mods since it will use the heat percent from our primer. Dot builds also double dip Banes for 2.4 times more damage, and for heat inherit, one dip always comes from the primer, whereas the other dip comes from the second weapon used as DPS. Therefore, I've modded this heat inherit epitaph with 225% heat, and primed Expel. That's it. Just shoot your epitaph before you shoot your MITER and Incarnon to make sure your MITER uses this 225% heat in calculations instead. While not completely ground-breaking, the MITER Incarnon is incredibly fun to use in a powerhouse. It shreds crowd with ease on its AoE self-priming ricochet. While it does not have all the force procs the Cedo has, luckily the Glaive both primes and DPSs at the same time, with much raw higher damage numbers to make up for it. Direct hits also have multiplicative GunCO, letting it scale extremely far as well. This makes it perfect at priming and AoE killing trash fodder, while also providing extreme single target damage to kill Demolysts. Cheers! If this is your first time watching, feel free to leave like or better yet subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. 79.5% of you are not subscribed. I'm trying my best to get you new information out always, as soon as possible, like I've been doing with the Duviri update. Stick around if you want to see interesting memes and builds on a nearly daily basis. You don't want to miss out on any of that, do you? That'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and see you all next time.